Tell me about yourself.
I am currently a second-year student at Rosen College of Hospitality Management. My dream actually is to study the theme park and attractions management track, especially as I'm actually looking more into the operational side of the theme parks. I'm also originally from Daytona Beach, Florida, where it is also known as the world's most famous beach. And I would like to share my memories of how I went to the theme parks when I was little. I would like to become part of the corporate leadership team for Disney parks. And in becoming part of the hospitality industry has always been part of my life. Even I was in elementary, middle, and high school. When I was in high school, I was heavily involved with group activities such as band and drama club, and it has helped me recognize the talents of other people as well as the personalities of others. As you would actually have in hospitality, you may have introverts and extroverts. Combining personalities will help you as how you can try to help others, especially with the similar personality types.
Okay. All right. Can you give me a strength of yours?
A strength that I have, as I has been told by others, is my kindness. As I've been told by other people, I always have a smile on my face, even if in a difficult time. I've always I try to motivate others as much as I can, especially as there are moments where I'm just feeling under the weather, or just not in the mood, and outside, but then inside I feel happy, and I must be able to show my kindness to others, especially like in a hospitality business. There's no such thing as a bad day, or should not be a thing as a bad day.
Okay. How about a weakness?
A weakness that I would have is that I'm too open. For example, when I'm given when I'm told something like a quote unquote secret by someone, because there are times I can open my mouth in ways I am not supposed to, and it can make people feel uncomfortable or feel that I'm not trustworthy. Because I know there are situations where you would have to open your mouth. There are sometimes you should not say a word because you don't want to jeopardize the relationship you have with others.
Okay. What motivates you?
What motivates me, especially when I'm working with others, is having a familiar interest. When I'm involved in one of the organizations I'm part of, which is the Future Theme Park Leaders Association, I'm easily motivated by the subject of the theme parks, as well as being others who have the similar interest. And I'm also motivated by something that is challenging as well, because if you're sticking to your comfort zone all the time, you will not you may not be able to learn others. I mean, you're not able to learn other qualities that you could have.
Okay. In the hospitality field, you may come across a conflictual situation or an upset customer, how do you normally handle conflict? Can you tell me a time where you had to handle a conflictual situation?
I know. I noticed at my current job, soon to be my former job, at the Amway Center, there was a guest that um was making kind of like a weird gesture towards me. Um, like he was hugging me, and he was like kissed me on the cheek, and it was a situation I was involved with before, but what I actually decided to do, what was easier for me to solve conflicts is when I talk to others, especially my superiors. I would normally talk to my managers or supervisors and see if there's a way to solve the situation if I can't think of a solution firsthand. Otherwise, if I know what to do with that, if I know how to deal with that situation, I would still do it um, in a hospitable way. For example, I would ask like someone to like say if someone was going close to me, I would say please um sorry.
Mm.
I would say I understand that you are enjoying your experience, but I'm gonna have to get back to work, because the one thing I don't want to do is spoil. I don't want to do something wrong on the job, especially if it's my personal safety.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is that what you did in this particular situation?
Yes. I talked to my coworkers as well as my managers, because I never been in that situation before.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if there are others who felt the same way or has been in that situation.
Okay. Okay. Um, I'm sorry. What would your references say about you?
My references would say that I'm outgoing and tenacious, especially challenges at school, as I've come across some challenging assignments with during the academic year. I've always been told by others that you can do it and to stay strong, because if you don't show your determination, it could be very easy to give up. And in the hospitality and industry, you do not want to give up on helping a guest.
Okay. Why did you pick UCF?
I picked UCF as my choice for school because because of the program I was interested in. As when I first heard about Rosen, which was actually my senior year of high school, my government teacher was a former student here, and their UCF's commitment, especially within their hospitality program, to help students learn valuable skills, as well as the commitment to helping others that are coming from outside of Orlando, as it is a state university, and it also welcomes people from around the world.
Oh, sure. I just had a question. Where did he go? What are some of the things in a job that are important to you, and why?
One of the qualities that I know that a job should have that is important is effective communication between between the coworkers and superiors. If you have a management team that may not care for others equally, it could be a challenge, especially when you're looking for motivation on how to move up within the company you're working with, as well as trying to get support um other than work, but though similar to your work environment. Another quality I know it's important to have is a safe work environment. I mean, though you may get for so you may feel uncomfortable on the first day. There are people who should be trained, as well as who knows the safety techniques to help new hires feel comfortable in any situation, especially when you have to make safe and almost an environment that could be potential danger.
Okay. Um, I just had a question. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, yeah, here he is. What was your most difficult decision in the last 6 months, and what made it so difficult?
The most difficult decision I've ever had to make is actually a recent one. Which is actually switching to a different company. Especially one that will help me develop my career goals. Just recently, I got hired at Walt Disney World as a quick service food and beverage cast member at Disney's Wilderness Lodge. And because I have been working at the Amway Center for almost a year and a half, it's going to be very emotional, because I've not only this is my first job that I've ever worked in. I developed many relationship with my managers and coworkers, and sometimes it's just very hard. It's very hard to let go, especially when you only known them for a shorter period of time, unlike knowing your family or lifelong friends.
So what made the decision so difficult to leave Amway?
What made it difficult was thinking between my career goals, as well as commitment to either one or both. At first, I was thinking about doing both, Disney and Amway, but then I noticed that with commuting, it would have been difficult to make the transition difficult, and that's why that's why it's difficult.
Okay. And Amway and Disney are very different organizations in terms of the culture, and what they do specifically. So can you tell me a time about how you successfully adapted to a culturally different environment?
I remember when I'm working at Amway, I was actually working in a different location. I worked in catering, and it has a different aspect than in the restaurant I worked in, because you are not only you're working with you're not only working with different guests, you're also working with a different pace. In catering, it's so much faster pace than in the restaurant you're working in, even though there are less people. Well, it's because when we see the lines, they're coming all at once, and we don't know first you may not know how to handle that situation until you're able to actually talk to people who do know.
Describe a situation in which you were successful.
A time that I was successful. It may not be at work. It's actually in especially it was in my first year at Rosen. While taken into the hospitality, we had a career research paper that I was confused because I never wrote a paper like this before until I found out that we were also going to have a partner who shared an interest in the same topic you're doing, as well as who's actually worked in this environment before. Sorry.
You're fine.
The research paper I actually decided to go on the topic was a theme park manager, as it is one of the it's one of my my long-term career goals. I want to complete after graduating from Rosen. Being able to research what the company you're desired to work for, as well as other general statistics within the theme park industry. It has helped me recognize what potential role I can have in this industry, especially while I'm studying food at the track at school.
Okay. We have a few minutes left, so normally one of the last few questions an employer would ask would be like, do you have any questions for them? So have you thought about what kind of questions you might ask an employer?
A question that I would ask an employer is, what have you done to help you get to the position you are currently in? The reason why I asked the question is because it has it would help me recognize my own career goals and to see how I could be inspired to go above and beyond within my desired track, and see if there's any changes I'm going to have to make as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any other questions that you might ask or you've thought of?
I would ask how long have they been in the company.
Mm-hmm.
As well as are there any future roles you're actually thinking of heading up to within the company, or another like, even if it's outside your current role, or a position you've never done before, but how and also how would it benefit how would it benefit the company itself?
Okay.
With you being in that specific role.
Okay. And I would also recommend, I have a few other questions I'm going to highlight here for you.
Okay.
I would recommend using this time to really find out questions that are going to help you to make sure this is going to be a good fit for you, because you don't want to get into this job and then realize, oh, this is not what I was expecting. So if there's any questions that are going to help you determine, does this fit with my values? Does this fit with the culture that I'm looking for? you want to make sure that you don't have those red flags. So I always like to ask, when do you expect to hear something regarding the hiring decision? Because that way you have an idea what the timeline is, if they have not provided to you that before. And then something I always like to ask is, describe the culture of the company or the organization or the department you'll be working for, and that gives you a sense, like, could you see yourself there? And very similar to the one that you first said are, but what are some attributes or qualities that they might be looking for? Because that, I like to use that question to, like, put in the think you know afterwards as a kind of like a follow-up. So those are just a few that I recommend. All right, so that was about 20 minutes. How did you feel about that practice?
I feel it made me more confident, but there are some things I actually do need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have never done a practice interview with career services, or I haven't done a practice interview in a while.
Yeah.
It made me feel a little anxious,
Mm-hmm.
especially as I'm actually even though it will help me trying to benefit, it could be a little challenging at first.
Right. Do you recognize a few things that you would like to work on to better your interviewing skills? Were there things that you kind of noticed along the way during the interview that you would like to work on?
I would actually like to work on, like, how to get an answer in time. Like, one of the things I actually been told in the past is to take a pause to think. But then I don't know if I'm thinking too long.
No, I actually admire that about you, because that was one thing I was going to point out, that you are pausing, which I think is great. A lot of students feel like they need to answer the question right away, and then halfway through the answer, they get tripped up, don't know where they're going, they have to ask to get the question repeated. So the fact that you paused, I thought that was great.
Thank you.
And you did not pause too long either.
Okay.
So I felt like it was a good amount of time. And these employers hopefully should know that these questions, a lot of them you're not really expecting. So they need to give you a few seconds to kind of process where you want to go with your answer. A few things that I would, just from a few minor things, I would say is, you do say a lot.
I know. I've actually had this I've had this speech impediment ever since I was a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's something I need to improve. It's something I need to improve on.
Yeah. And I think with practice, it would get better. And a lot of times the reason why we say is because we're afraid of silence. So, and I'm horrible at it too. So, but I think once you're aware of it, though, you're more conscious of it. Therefore, you're not going to say it nearly as much. It's going to slip out, but I think if you're more aware of it, I think it's something you could definitely improve on. And then one thing I notice a lot of people do, it's not just you, it's me as well. We a lot of times like start one sentence, stop, and then start another sentence. So we kind of like interrupt our thoughts. So that's something that keep in mind too as you're answering the questions.
And I do understand that because sometimes my mind goes blank.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what would be better for me to do is to actually research what in examples on how to answer this question, so I can think in my mind how I'm going to finish the sentence properly, before starting another sentence to answer my question.
Yes, yeah, I think that's a good technique. Absolutely. Okay. We only have a few minutes left, and I have another appointment, but do you have any questions for me? How do you feel like this went? I think your answers were really good. The one thing I would say is you don't need to bring up growing up in Daytona in your intro. I think just focusing on your skills and your experiences, I think, would be great. But other than that, I think just working them out and saying them out loud and practice some more, I think it would make you even a stronger interviewer.
A question I have for you is, what has made your position difficult at the start, especially when you're doing at Rosen as well?
Mm-hmm. Like, what has my position? What are some difficult things about my position?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a really good question. I wasn't expecting that. I've been in the field for 10 years, so it's kind of hard for me to find something difficult. Like, the things I find difficult maybe be more like the administration, dealing with the politics and of the organizational structure. Less about my day-to-day operations. And I think you're going to find that in any company that there's going to be like a cultural or operational struggle sometimes. So like a decision the CEO of Walt Disney makes could affect you in a positive or negative way, and then just how to dealing with that moving forward.
And I definitely know how it feels because when I'm going to Traditions, actually this upcoming Saturday, the 9th, I'm going to be expecting to walk into a new environment where I know it's cultural, it's cultural diverse.
Right.
And there are people I never met before,
right.
Especially those who come from different cultures, as well as different personalities, because I know Disney is about hospitality. There's different personality types. Like I would see several times I would see like I could see an introvert and I see the extroverts. Even though that being an extrovert would be my comfort zone, worrying about people who do not know who are not comfortable speaking at first, they could I can actually learn from them and see how I can help them try to become a little bit more outspoken.
Absolutely.
Especially when they want to be they want to try to develop their career goals.
Absolutely. Great. All right. Well, I do have another appointment, so I don't want to rush you out, but let me give you, I forgot my business cards, but let me give you my information. So if you have any questions,